Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Hey Bucks. I'm here as usual with Andrew T. Evans, and we are happy to have back dangerous Dillon Davis. I just felt like I really wanted to what is that called? Alliterate? Is it alliteration when you use?
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. I'm feeling a little dangerous today too, so it's appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to have you guys on ever since the heartbreak loss to Michigan and then the next week of transfers. We've been talking a lot, and then there's all these rumors. And then recently I was just like, I can't keep up with this shit. This is too much. There's too much like speculation. People are saying one thing, and it's like it. And honestly, it's interesting because Andy and we've talked a lot about like when you're on the outside looking in, just as a fan, you don't always pay attention a lot. And then when you're actually like trying to like cover the team in some form, it's like this shit is just a distraction. It makes what you're trying to do harder. And then you just realize nobody knows anything. Like people are pretending like they know what Larry Johnson's doing, and then they post photos of a different guy that's black that's on the sideline. They call him Larry Johnson. And I just think it's like there's so much stuff, but you know I want to get it to you guys. So you know the transfer portal happened. We talked a little bit about it. I did. The one cool thing is I don't have to look for rumors because people know what I do. They just come to me now, which is kind of fun. It's less work for us to just actually look. I'm sure it's the same thing for you guys, whether it's me sending it to you, but. As of December 4th, 15 Buckeyes decided to transfer. The biggest one that we heard first was, I guess the most famous was Kyle McCord. And I forgot did you guys see the very sad looking photo of Kyle McCord on the sideline of the Syracuse game?
Yeah, that was maybe a sign of things to come. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, what was Dillon, what was your first as you know, we all were kind of self-proclaimed Kyle McCord apologists. What was your thought when you first heard, you know, McCord was transferring?
You know, I was actually I had an early morning flight that day. I was going to visit some family, and so I had to get up early. And you know, you could have told me, you could have given me 100 guesses as to what I might wake up to on my phone, and Kyle McCord in the transfer portal was not going to be one of them. I mean, I was stunned. Yeah, just like I think probably everybody, I was stunned. You know, but by that news, and it's not good for Ohio State in 2024. It's not, regardless of how you feel about Kyle McCord, it's not good. It's not good for a healthy quarterback room that he's not there anymore. So yeah, I was stunned by it. You know, I knew that there were going to be some guys in the portal, even some ones that maybe surprised a few people in general, but not that one. And obviously nobody saw that coming. We talked to players, you know, the following week, and you know, to a man, they both said, you know, or they all said that you know, they didn't expect anything, and you know, they weren't aware of anything until Kyle said, hey, well, to some of them, he said, hey, you know, I'm going to do this. Others seem to have found out on Twitter like everybody else did, or Instagram, or whatever the hell it is. So yeah, stunning stuff. So
Andy, what was your first thoughts?
Yeah, completely shocked. I was not expecting, of all the people on the team, especially your starting quarterback, of all the people to go into the portal, Kyle McCord was the absolute last person I thought would have done that. We were talking, Drew, about it one-on-one, and you told me how irritated you were, to say the least, that he decided he was going to transfer. And you were like, good riddance, goodbye, get out of here, go home, see you later. I'm glad you're leaving, Kyle McCord.
I think like that is like a natural reaction. I think like from a team perspective though, it's like, okay, like you you know what you signed up for by going to Ohio State. You know there's going to be intense criticism. You had an 11-1 season. Like did Kyle McCord get a lot of fair criticism? Probably not. I think, you know, but was he a weak link on the team? It's hard to say with, you know, his young offensive line. He did make some big mistakes, and everybody thinks it's his fault that he threw that last pick, but it was really, I mean, when the offensive lineman just got blown up, and then he took a hit while he was throwing the ball. Like, you know, if he doesn't get hit, that ball potentially goes to Marvin Harrison, and Marvin Harrison potentially runs for a touchdown, and then we're the number one seed in the playoff right now. So I think it's like that's the thing, and I think it's also, you know, it's your first year, dude. Like, where are you going to go where you're going to have a better opportunity? Like, you're not. I guess to me, I didn't understand the move on his end, and also it's just like if you're the leader of the team, like, I guess what's that say about your character that when the going gets tough, you get going in the wrong way. So
And
I just
I
think
think that's it right there. I think a lot of people are now questioning Kyle McCord and his toughness. Was he soft? Is he honestly a crybaby? Is he acting like a spoiled little brat? Is there more to this story? I have contended that this season was primarily set up to make Marvin Harrison look like a star. And they succeeded. Biletnikoff winner, only back-to-back 1,000-yard receiver in OSU history, a Heisman finalist. Yeah, Marvin, you didn't beat Michigan, you didn't win a Big Ten title, and you never played for a national championship. I'm sorry. You know, those things did not work out in your favor. But otherwise, this season was specifically set up to make Marvin Harrison look like the prodigal son, and they did that. And Ryan Day, this is just personal opinion. And Dillon, maybe you disagree. Maybe you've heard differently. I don't know. This is just what I'm saying off in my head, what I think, that Ryan Day went with Kyle McCord because he knew the chemistry and the makeup between McCord and Harrison was better than what Brown may have provided. And that's why we saw Kyle McCord out there. Was it the right logical choice? Hindsight being 2020? I don't know. But I think the whole reason we saw McCord in the first place was simply because they wanted to make Marvin Harrison look as good as possible. And Ryan Day felt that Kyle McCord was the guy who could get the job done in that regard.
Yeah, in terms of the Marvin Harrison thing, like, just because they played in high school together doesn't mean that he automatically gave them the best chance to, you know, make Marvin look good at the college level, because obviously you still have to, you know, read secondaries and make big time, you know, throws. So I don't know that, you know, that was necessarily it. Now, obviously, I think by default that was a big part of their plan, because he was their best offensive playmaker on a team that, you know, not that they were short on playmakers, but, you know, didn't have there weren't, you know, multiple guys out there just like, well, you got to get this guy the ball. You have to, you have to make him a feature point. So, or a focal point. So, I mean, I don't know if Kyle McCord, you know, got the job because of that necessarily, just in my opinion. More, I think he was the best quarterback on the roster, and that might be an indictment on the quarterback room. I'm not saying that's not the case, but I think he was the best quarterback. And the funny thing is, or the cool thing is, we're going to find out, or at least we're going to get a decent idea. We're going to get a small snippet next Friday, because, people will, the funny thing is, and I'm already losing my shit over this, but the number of people that are going to make excuses for Devin Brown on Friday, the same freaking people that after one game at Indiana with Kyle McCord were ready to throw that guy under the bus and say, nope, not the guy. I told you, not the guy. But listen to the number of excuses on Friday when Devin Brown, if Devin Brown struggles, doesn't look that great, whatnot. Oh, it's his first start. Oh, cut him a break. You know, that's a tough spot to be in. Cotton Bowl, good team. You know, first start. You know, all these excuses, the same stuff that Kyle McCord wasn't afforded. You listen to Devin Brown get these things, and whatever. Good for Devin, because Kyle was treated poorly. So good for Devin, because that's the way it should be. There should be a learning curve there. Look, at the end of the day, Kyle McCord didn't play up to the standard of quarterback at Ohio State. There's no question about that. That is. Unequivocally, he was not up to the standard. Was he that far off? No. Was it his first season? Yes. Would you expect some kind of reasonable leap forward in year two? Yeah, I would think so. So again, him leaving isn't a good thing for Ohio State or the program. With that being said, do I think Devin Brown's far off from Kyle McCord, and that Devin Brown can't get to the level that Kyle McCord was going to give him in year two? No. And then we know with the leg, his legs and being able to move, that maybe Devin Brown gives you just a little bit more, versatility on offense that opens up another element. And with this offensive line, and as bad as I want to say as bad as it was, as average as it was this year, and potentially as average as it's going to be again next year, because there's not a lot of help on that roster. maybe that mobility from Devin Brown is something that they're going to really need to utilize. So maybe it's a net positive that he did leave. But I don't think it's a clear cut like, yeah, get the hell out of here, Kyle. Because
Yeah, I, I I agree in that regard. I think I guess staying in the quarterback position, we haven't even got into recruiting or the other transfers. I mean, immediately there's Ryan Clark is saying Cam Ward's going to Ohio State, and then Cam Ward's just on some big wine and dine tour in Florida now, and it's like we don't know, but at the same time, Andy, you brought up a lot of good points. Like, what does this say to the existing quarterback room if you just bring in a new guy for a million or $2 million, which is Dillon, you had said $1 million out of the portal, and then Matt Rule came out and McAfee and said, well, it was before McAfee, but he's come out and he said you're looking at about 2 million if you want to recruit someone out of the portal. Um, what do you, Andy? What you've had some interesting thoughts about this, and Dillon, I want your intake on it too. Once he's done, what are your thoughts? Like, what does this say to Devin Brown, who's already fought and just lost a close battle with Kyle McCord? Now he gets his shot at the Cotton Bowl. Before he even gets his shot, people are already talking about going to somebody else.
It's not good. And this is Ryan Day has said this, that he really does not want to go to the portal unless it is absolutely necessary. And I don't think that he feels it's absolutely necessary to go to the portal and get a 1-year guy. Now that's as of right now, because there's still a week or so left of the portal, maybe about almost 2 weeks. And then he's going to have another 15-day window in April. This Cotton Bowl, like Dillon was just saying, is going to be a huge, huge audition for Devin Brown. And if Devin Brown comes out and looks like poo, and you kind of have to give him that leeway of looking like poo, because you're asking him now to come in and start in a bowl game, a New Year's Six bowl game, not like they're going to the Roto Rooter Toilet Bowl. They're going to a New Year's Six bowl game. They're going to the Cotton Bowl, folks. This is still a huge bowl game against a top 10 SEC opponent. This is huge. And Missouri, they're coming with it. Dillon, we talked to Elijah Drinkwitz after the announcement, and he said, yeah, we're going to be playing. And Missouri is fired up to play this game. We'll get to that more in a few minutes, but this is not a good thing if Ryan Day goes to the portal and wants to wine and dine Cam Ward for $2 million to come play football at Ohio State for 1 year. Maybe he tries to do it after the last few days that the portal is going to be open after the Cotton Bowl is over. He really goes hard after Cam Ward. But if Devin Brown comes and balls out and Ohio State wins that bowl game and he looks good, Cam Ward, you're done. We're not coming after you. Bye-bye, go somewhere else. But if he really goes hard after Cam Ward, it's not a good look to anybody, especially Devin Brown, Lincoln Keenholz. And I don't think you can say Prentice Air Nolan, because he's gonna redshirt next year, probably regardless of whether they get Cam Ward or not. That's my belief. I'm telling you right now, I think Air Noland is going to redshirt. But still, it's not a good look to go after a 1-year guy for $2 million. Absolutely absurd to me, Dillon. Absolutely absurd.
Well, the good news is they're not going after these guys. So they're not bringing a quarterback in. Ryan Day is very, very set on the guys he has, whether it's Devin, Lincoln, and I'm telling you that Aaron Nolan, I'm not saying that he's going to come in and start, but he don't rule him out as an early enrollee. With his biggest assets being his ability to work through things quickly and pick things up quickly. Like that kid has a chance to come in. Not saying start, but he will be a factor. Like, Ryan Day will be like, let's see what the kid can do in certain situations in the spring with the ones in Ohio. State's the best guys. With the idea that like, it's not completely that far off to say this kid could play right now. And again, I'm not saying that will happen.
And I
Ultimately,
agree.
but
He's definitely going to get a chance in spring camp,
yeah,
right, to play with the ones. Don't disagree with
sure.
that at all, for sure.
But the transfer thing's not happening. Cam Ward not coming to Ohio State. They're not courting Cam Ward. They're not waiting to see what happens with Devin. Like, Ohio State's not bringing a quarterback in. Personally, what I say as far as, if they were courting a quarterback, is to hell with anybody else in that quarterback room. If you think that Cam Ward comes in immediately and gives you a chance to go 12-0 and be a top 2-3 seed in the playoff and have a bye in the first round or whatever the case may be, then I say to hell with the rest of the room. I'm tired of Ohio State playing well, this guy's been here for 2-3 years. He's got to see the field, even though you have more talent behind him. I'm tired of that shit. That stuff goes back to Urban Meyer. That stuff goes back to Urban Meyer.
Jim Tressel.
Yeah, and the seniority thing where, if this guy's been here, if he played last year, he's got to play next year because, that would be unfair to him. I'm tired of that shit. I mean, and I'm not saying there are some cases where it's easy for us to say like that's what's going on, and it's probably not the case. We don't see what's going on behind the scenes. We don't see how these guys practice every day. But there are far too many cases year in, year out where like, why isn't this guy playing? Why is that guy playing? Why is that guy playing over this guy? That just, it drives me crazy. And so in terms of bringing a quarterback in, if they could go get one, and I agree, $2 million is ridiculous for for a team that's already, I don't say struggling, but they're kind of still finding their footing in the NIL world on the recruiting trail, let alone the transfer portal.
Yeah.
$2 million for a quarterback for a year, that's a lot. But again, if you thought, and I'm a big Cam Ward guy, immediately when this was before the price was, the details of the price came out. As soon as he entered the portal, I said, boom, go get him. That's the guy. That's the guy that I want to see play in Ryan Day's offense with these receivers at Ohio State, because I think that could be a really good offense. But for that price, I don't know. I probably still would. If you could get the money, I still would. And again, I say to hell with the rest of the room. If that guy's makes you better, and I think he does. I think he's better than what they have on the roster. You go get him, but I can tell you that Ohio State's not going to have a transfer quarterback. They're not entertaining that. They're moving forward with what they have. So,
Well, I think more concerning with the transfer portal in my regard, like, I'd hit you guys because somebody had said Trainham's going to go, and apparently Fleming, they're all going to go to Kentucky with that other quarterback. So far, Trainham has confirmed that there's nothing on Fleming that's been announced from Kentucky, to my knowledge. I haven't been tuning in.
Might go back to Penn State.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing too. Yeah.
What do you guys think? I mean, Trainham and Fleming. I mean, Trainham was a dude who only played well against. I mean, like, I don't want to say he only played well. He wasn't a one back. I mean, it's definitely, if Travion Henderson's not coming back, which he's likely not, but if he did, it's like, well, I'd rather see him and Dallin Hayden taking snaps. But I think what hurt us more in the transfer portal than Trainham or Fleming was, I mean, we lost 4 running backs, and now we got Dallin Hayden. That's pretty much it. Who else do we have for, like, it seems like we lost a ton of depth at running back through the transfer portal. That seemed.
Dillon, go ahead with that one. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't count out Travion Henderson returning to Ohio State. I know that much. So
now wait, do you know something? Have you heard something? What have you heard?
I haven't heard anything concrete, so I just know that I wouldn't count it out. That's not just as much as I'll say. And maybe that's indicative. Maybe that's why some of these guys transferred. Maybe that's why, because for a Chip Trainham, if Travion was a home run to leave, it's kind of a weird spot for him to leave, because I mean, him and Dallin Hayden are going to be your 1-2 next year. Those are going to be the guys, with Mayan gone. So that was kind of a weird one, unless he knew something ahead of time. Like I said, I don't know anything concrete. I just know that I know not to count it out. I know that there's a real chance of him staying. That's as much as I can say.
I thought too, I mean, the other thing that I thought too with Fleming was, I mean, in that wide receiver in your pool, it's like we have so many good young wide receivers coming up. Fleming's like a 6-year senior. It's like maybe it is time for him to move on. Like, I like Julian Fleming, but I think talent-wise, he's just inconsistent. Injury-wise, he's not very durable. He's been hurt every year. To me, it's like he just takes up space and reps on the roster for younger guys coming up, like a Carnell Tate, or we always have these phenom wide receivers coming in. It's just like, I feel like there really needs to be a system in place at Ohio State where it's like, okay, if you're not getting in at this time and you're this age, it's probably time for you to move on if we have all this younger talent. Versus like we got guys that are trying to, I don't like 7 year guy like Cameron Rising is going to come back. He redshirted last year and play for Utah, and at this point, he's been in college for 8 years. Like, I mean, he's great if you're a Utah fan, but at the same time, it's just like, what the weird thing with college football is it didn't it just used to be you get 5 years and then you're out. Like, wasn't that just
Well,
kind of?
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
you're fine. You're
Uh,
fine. I was just talking so someone would cut me off.
that's a good actually that's a good point, a good segue because I want to make this point too that like obviously a lot of people when these transfers started rolling in it was kind of alarming given the the cloud over the program after the Michigan loss and missing out on another Big Ten championship game and then all these these transfers start rolling in. These transfers aren't a bad thing because this is an interesting time in college football's history because of the whole COVID year and things like that. So to your point, Drew, yes, it used to be you'd have to have a redshirt year and you'd be a fifth year senior if you redshirted your freshman year and stayed all 4 years, you'd be a fifth year senior. Now with these COVID rules, it's changed everything. You got guys potentially with a medical waiver and a COVID year that are 6-7 year guys.
Tristan Gebbia.
Yeah, right. So these transfers, Ohio State's number crunch, like they're on a bit of a number crunch going into the next season. Ohio State needed to get rid of some of these guys because these COVID rules are going away now. And that's why you only saw Ohio State sign 21 kids, 21 kids.
20.
And recruiting it was smaller because they couldn't afford to take 27, 28 guys. If they could have, they would have. Now, part of that is also, they cast their net too damn shallow for, some of these guys. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. If they got all the guys they wanted to, they wouldn't have taken 26, 27 guys. And again, that's probably indicative of what they feel like they're about to get back. And, we thought that there's going to be a lot of roster attrition in terms of the NFL draft. And I don't think it's going to be what people thought it was. I think there's going to be a lot more coming back than people thought there was going to be, which again leads to signing 20 kids because they're going to be on a little bit of a scholarship crunch, with these COVID rules going away. So yeah, I mean, the transfers, it wasn't alarming. They didn't lose a single guy outside of maybe Kyle McCord, where you saw like, oh wow, like they're not a better team because that guy left. Now, obviously, depth matters, and they lost some good depth pieces, but there wasn't a single impact guy that they lost. It's like, wow, oh, that hurts. Other than maybe Kyle McCord, probably Kyle McCord. We'll see, but so yeah, no, they needed to get some guys out. They left. Here we are. I don't think they're any worse off for it. So.
Do
I
you
think
think
from a depth factor, running back definitely took a hit, obviously. You don't lose Chip Trainum, Mayan Williams, Evan Pryor. You even throw in preferred walk-on freshman Will Hartson, which, okay, yeah, that's not a huge hit. But just from a depth standpoint, and if Travion leaves, now you're talking about 5 running backs that will no longer be in that room, and you're bringing in 2. And you're technically going to only have 3 scholarship running backs if Travion leaves. But is Travion coming back? Is he, should I stay? Should I go? We have no idea what's going on. He has obviously the best clue as to what he's going to do. We're all speculating. He has said he has not made a decision one way or another. But it will be interesting if he plays in the Cotton Bowl. That's obviously going to be a huge indication that he is going to come back, unless for some odd reason he just wants to play one more game and get a bowl win like Emeka Buka and Denzel Burke. But it still hurts a little bit to lose Chip and Chop and Evan Pryor just from a depth standpoint. I mean, obviously Chip and Chop were integral in the offense, the last couple of years. But is it going to be if Travion doesn't come back, even if Travion doesn't come back, I don't want to say this to sound like an asshole, but I'm going to say it sound like an asshole. I don't think that Chip and Chops and obviously Evan Pryor's departure, because he virtually didn't play, their leaving is not going to be that detrimental to the running back position, because I feel that confident that Dallin Hayden can get the job done. That's just my personal belief. But still, from a depth standpoint, it still hurts for sure.
I would just say just health. I mean, like our running backs, the 22 season, we couldn't keep it running back healthy. This year we make it to the playoff in the postseason, and then it didn't happen. But I would, yeah, I think. So let's kind of move forward with the next, the recruiting class. We kind of touched on it. It wasn't a huge class, but it sounds like, we recruited well at the positions that matter. The number one wide receiver for recruiting in the country, and then our quarterback out of Georgia, which you guys are both really high on. What are your guys' overall thoughts? I mean, I know everybody talks about, I don't know. Buckeye fans are getting really annoying with, if we're not the best, it's game over. But it's just like, we don't really know till guys play on the field. So what are your guys' thoughts of the recruiting? And is this, we're talking about the transfer portal. We're not really hitting the transfer portal. I mean, like, I've heard Nick Saban and Kirby Smart and Matt Rule and all these guys say, you know what, like, I'm in this to build players. I mean, like, I'm not opposed if somebody wants to come to us through the transfer portal. Well, I'll hear them out and we'll talk to them. But my biggest focus is still going into homes and recruiting people from homes. Do you guys think this is the same approach that OSU's taken? Dillon, we'll start with you.
Well, I mean, I think that's probably my biggest concern with Ohio State right now is like that they don't seem to embrace the transfer portal in the way that, um, other programs have. And I'm not saying the approach is to just, shotgun approach, just throw out all kinds of offers and just get anybody you can. Obviously, I'm not saying that at all. Fits matter, so, and I'm sure there is probably a certain degree of like, we're going to give the guys we've recruited, the guys that, we sold, sold them on this program, we're going to give them a shot here, but there are certain things you supplement in the transfer portal. And that's a little alarming as far as the recruiting class goes. I would contend that they did not recruit well in the positions that matter, because they failed miserably on the offensive line, which, I've been saying this for 2 years now, like, hey, there's going to be issues with this offensive line coming because they're not recruiting the position well, and they continue to not recruit the position well. And so those issues are probably going to continue. And then also on the defensive line, obviously, keeping Edric Houston was huge. It was critical for this class as a whole, but for the defensive line as a whole, they still missed wildly, in recruiting.
Yeah, they got like two guys.
Yeah, I mean, they got Eric Mensah was he was and I'm not getting into this conversation. I'm not saying with you guys, but in general, I hate getting in this conversation. But stars do matter. Development matters too. I understand that, but you can see the direct, equation of stars to the best teams in college football. So it does matter. So when I say Eric Mensah was a 3-star guy, it doesn't mean that he can't be good. Obviously, it doesn't mean that he can't go on to be an All-American. I'm just saying he's a 3-star guy. That does matter. That is an important detail. And he was a Virginia Tech flip. So they got him, and they got Edric Houston, who obviously is, a stud 5-star guy. Everybody wanted him. So just those two guys, having one interior guy and one edge rusher that's an abject failure as a whole from a defensive line recruiting at a place like Ohio State. And when I made the comment earlier about them casting the net too shallow, they did it again. They did it last year at Burnham. They did it again this year. They had a handful of targets that they went after, and if you miss those guys, there's no pivot. It was too late to pivot, and here we are. So that's going to be an issue, which is why we talk about the transfer portal, running back and defensive line. I'm surprised that we haven't heard anything about a guy yet because, well, I know that they were in on some guys on the defensive line and just didn't get them. Tackett Curtis, the linebacker out of USC, who they were high on in recruiting, that kid probably, I want to say favor Ohio State being a favorite, but Ohio State has a great chance of landing him at linebacker. But I'm surprised that defensive line and running back that I haven't heard more about them being in on some guys or more guys, but because there's going to be holes there for sure. But yeah, I was disappointed in the recruiting class as a whole. Again, doesn't make it bad. Doesn't make it bad. I mean, if you're signing top 5 classes, you're doing business. Like you're giving yourself a chance. But for the areas in need in that class, it wasn't good.
Yeah, I definitely think the line. I mean, without the line, my only question was like, we're still pretty. I was just curious when it came to the defensive line, like, what's the depth chart at there? Like, are we losing anybody? Are we just losing JT potentially, Travion, uh, JT, and Marvin Harrison for playing in the Cotton Bowl. And it seems like these bowl games, if you're not in the playoff, I mean, now it's going to change with the 12-team playoff. Seems to be a preview of what you're going to have next year, because a lot of guys aren't playing. A lot of guys that are coming back play. A lot of guys that aren't. So, I guess that was just my thought. Was maybe it's just they didn't go hard at defensive line because of the depth. Offensive line's another thing. I mean, it seems like our offensive line was pretty average with a lot of 6-year guys. So why aren't we hitting offensive line hard? What's the recruiting issues there? Andy, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I am a proponent of trying to recruit in talent, build them up, and have them be your success. But like Ryan Day said, this past after he said it a couple of times now in the postseason, that he has to embrace the transfer portal a little bit more. He realizes that this is now a different day and age and era of college sports or college football, and that he needs to embrace it more, and he probably does. And to Dillon's point, yeah, Edric Houston, huge, able to get him to stay. And in fact, he said, which was kind of interesting, that Edric Houston said that his primary concern and why he was kind of maybe waffling a little bit, allowing Alabama to swoon him a little bit, wine and dine him, was because of the transfer portal. And he wanted an assurance from Ryan Day that they weren't going to go to the transfer portal and bring in some more guys to shore up some depth. Because yeah, if JT Tuimoloau leaves, and then even throw in there a Mike Hall and a Tyleik Williams, which are both interior defensive linemen, whereas Edric Houston is a defensive end. But still, Amari Abor, a defensive end, he's gone. JT, probably he's gone. So Edric Houston has a huge opportunity to probably come in. He's like one of the few guys, except for probably Jeremiah Smith, who we haven't even talked about yet, that has a huge opportunity to come in and, if not start right away, get a lot of PT. Jeremiah Smith is the other one. I think really Houston and Smith are two guys that we are going to see on the field early and often next year. But I am happy with this recruiting class. Yeah, it is kind of crazy when you have to bring in a 3-star Eric Mensah, who was a Virginia Tech commit. And literally, what, like a month ago, Dillon, maybe 2 months ago or something crazy, all of a sudden, they threw an offer at Eric Mensah. He was committed to Virginia Tech for a while. And the day that Ohio State offered Eric Mensah, he's like, yep, see you, Virginia Tech. I'm going over to Ohio State now. Ohio State had barely recruited him. They jump in at the last minute. So that goes to show you right there the kind of player that they kind of had to fall back on, like Gabe Van Sickle from Michigan. He was a Northwestern commit, and Ohio State offered him at the last minute, and boom, see you, Northwestern. I'm now going to play for Ohio State. So when you have to go get those kind of guys at the last minute, it kind of tells you where you're at in your recruiting process. And, maybe there is a fair point in criticism to Larry Johnson and Justin Fry right now when it comes to that, because like you said, Dillon, we've kind of been seeing that for the last couple of years.
So I actually think that I'm not sure Edric Houston's actually going to be on the edge. He might end up ultimately being an interior guy. Maybe they move him around a little bit of both. So, I definitely think he has a chance to come in and play right away, or find playing time, depending on what happens with some of these transfers. But I think he ultimately might profile more as an interior guy in the long run. And maybe that's out of necessity. Maybe that's out of just his body type. It just depends, because he certainly has the body type to be able to play inside once he adds that good weight that he's going to put on when he gets under, mixed dojo, and gets in there and gets in that strength and conditioning program. So, but losing Justin Scott was just a critical blow. The 5-star interior guy, like a very clear interior guy, losing him to Miami, in the final weeks of the recruiting cycle. That was a tough one. That changes a lot about how we feel about this defensive line haul. for Ohio State if he's in the class. That was a tough blow right there. So look, defensive lines. I don't want to say you can't take enough, but obviously there's a number. But you're talking about usually per cycle 3, 4, 5 guys potentially that you need to get just because of the way Larry Johnson likes to rotate those guys, and to get 2 guys. Period, let alone, just, with all due respect, one blue chipper and one, maybe project guy, or maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It's just not good enough. It's just not. And then, the offensive line recruiting, well, that's a failure. Ohio State continues to fail at the offensive line position. I'm not going to go on that rant because it doesn't fucking matter. Pardon me. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but
Hey, I already dropped bombs. Hey, we can curse. Fuck it. I'm surprised you don't have a beer open yet. You probably
no, I've got to go do some Christmas shopping here in a little bit.
Same.
So, yeah.
Got to get the fiance some stuff.
Yeah, more like go get the dog and the nieces and nephews stuff. So we don't get
the dog's top. I like how you said the dog first.
Oh yeah, he's
yeah.
royalty around here, man. Like he's an absolute king. So I mean, he gets treated as such. So I'm not gonna apologize. Anyway, so
yeah,
JJ Smith, real quick. Sorry, JJ Smith. Andy brought JJ Smith up. Jeremiah Smith, the kid's he's world class already. Probably. I mean, I don't know. He's still a high school kid, so there's a little bit of projection there. But this kid looks, he was on national TV, I think 13 freaking times this year. So everybody got a chance to see him, and he's playing against good competition down there. The kid looks like he's going to step onto campus in January as an early enrollee and instantly be your number 2 option behind, in my opinion, Emeka Egbuka. So, I think Ohio State's receiving group is in good hands between. I think Emeka is going to come back. I truly feel like that. And JJ, Carnell Tate, and talking about Julian Fleming. Everybody could use a Julian Fleming on their team. Like, yeah, injury problems were an issue, but I think he was solid. And if Emeka doesn't come back, I would have loved to have seen Julian come back to kind of lead this new wave along with Carnell Tate and whatnot, help kind of get these guys acclimated. But I think Ohio State's receiving groups is in fine hands because JJ Smith is the real deal. That kid, I truly believe that kid is going to be a difference maker the moment he steps on the field at Ohio State and in the practice field. I mean, so.
And you know what? Hey, don't forget about and I'm not saying that he's going to make an immediate impact, but a guy that they could fall back on here in the next maybe next year, next couple of years, the kid from Indiana, the 5-star Mylan Graham, the tape on him, dude, he looks like the real deal as well. So Tate, Ennis, don't forget, you still got guys like Bryson Rogers, Noah Rogers, Jaden Ballard. If Emeka comes back, holy crap. You got Keon Grays, Kojo Antwi. I'm surprised they kind of haven't transferred yet, to be honest with you, considering that Tate stepped ahead of Antwi last year and Grays was hurt the entire season pretty much. But nonetheless, totally fine at receiver. Jeremiah Smith, JJ Smith, whatever you want to call him. He's just an absolute cherry on top of a delicious wide receiver Sunday right now. So, yeah, they're going to ball out and they're going to look amazing as long as they got the right guy throwing them the ball. So, but we shall see on that.
I want to say one more thing, just a broad thing about, a lot of people have made, a lot about these guys opting in to play in this bowl game this year. And I think that a lot of people were just assuming that
they're going to come back next year because they're playing.
No, I think people are just assuming that they're playing, good for them. They want to play in a bowl game and whatnot, or that if they have opted in, like you said, that they are coming back. But like these guys, a lot of these guys aren't like surefire top 2 round picks, right? So, obviously,
I think a lot of the defense is coming back, man.
I think like we'll find out, right?
Yeah.
Because I think this game means a lot to them. I think this tape is going to mean a lot to them. It is the Cotton Bowl. It is a quality opponent. I think that how these guys, play in this game means a lot to their draft stock. And obviously they're already getting the feedback from the NFL right now and those guys. So they already have an idea and whatnot. But these guys that are playing in this game aren't I don't say necessarily they're not coming back necessarily, because they're playing in the game, but they still have a lot to prove on the field. They're not Marvin Harrison's where you can say I don't need to play this game because I'm going to go be a top 3 pick, guaranteed. Emeka Egbuka, for example, maybe a second round guy, at one point thought to be a first round guy. And he's a really good receiver. I think people are sleeping on Emeka Egbuka because he was hurt a lot this year and his production was a
Yeah.
little bit down. 2 years ago, he was fantastic, amazing. So Emeka Egbuka is a potential first round talent. And even now with the injuries, he probably is a second round guy. But I mean, Emeka Egbuka, if he goes out and, goes 8 catches for 100 bills and a touchdown, with Devin Brown, throwing to him, that's potentially a difference in, I don't know, a couple $1 million for him by 20 draft slots or something like that. Denzel Burke against those receivers against Missouri, that's a big opportunity for him to improve his draft stock. So like that's why he's playing in that game. It doesn't mean he's coming back, but it doesn't mean he's not either. It could be. I think a lot of these guys are truly undecided, and this game is going to matter their draft stocks. So I think people are reading too much into these guys playing. I think it's as simple as like, hey, well, I could use this tape. I could really see how I stack up against this team and potentially sell this to NFL guys. So
Remember,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
that's how I
we
meant
used
it.
to have
That,
the Senior Bowl
when
too.
what'd you say, Drew?
Well, that
Sorry.
used to be the thing with the old system, and then the Senior Bowl used to be a big deal too. I remember they'd have that extra bowl to get guys more tape. I mean, it's just like I don't think that exists anymore. And then I don't think it's kind of like the Big 33 game. It's weird. The new, like, I'm happy guys are getting paid, but I don't like the way it's looking right now. Not to get too far off, but I think a lot of these dudes want to win a national championship. I know they all know they'd be in the playoffs next year, if it was this year. And I think that a lot of those guys want to win against Michigan too. I think it's good to see. I'd like to see guys coming back because they have unfinished business, like you saw a lot on the Michigan team. So that was all I was trying to say, Andy.
No, and that's it. And my point, Dylan, in saying people are reading a lot into the guys that have decided we're going to play. They're like, oh, they're coming back next year. They're coming back. Hold on. I think a lot of them, they want to go out on a high note too. You know what I'm saying? They don't want last year's loss against Michigan and Georgia, and then once again could go out with another back-to-back season-ending loss. They don't want that taste in their mouth, and that's why they're playing, as well as this is a great opportunity to kind of ball out a little bit more and get maybe their draft stock improved. Once again, yeah, just because you're playing, does that mean that you're coming back? If you're not playing, so if Travion doesn't play, he ain't coming back. Because let me tell you what, if I'm Ryan Day and you decide to sit out the bowl game, but then you're going to come back next year, no, you're not. I don't give a crap if you're Travion Henderson or not. Go kick rocks down the road, buddy. See you later.
Yeah.
That would honestly be my response if you don't play, but you want to come back next year. So if Travion doesn't play, he's outie.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I mean, I don't think anybody that is going to come back has already made that decision that they're going to come back. Won't play in the game. Whether whether Travion's actually healthy or not, to play in the game, I don't know. Who knows what could have happened between the Michigan game and then, because he's had his issues before, and we see these apparent practice injuries pop up all the time. We're like, hey, he finished the game fine on Saturday, and then come Friday he's on the status report as questionable. What happened? Well, something in practice had to have happened. So who knows if he's even healthy? But I agree with you. If you're not playing in this game, then it's probably a pretty solid indication that that they're probably gone. I think Ohio State. I think people are going to be surprised at how well Ohio State does in terms of guys coming back. I think a lot of people are just expecting a handful of these guys, just assuming that it's a foregone conclusion, an afterthought that they're gone. And from what I've heard, I don't think that's the case at all. I think Ohio State fans are going to be really pleased with what they get back, and rightfully so, because they're going to be guys that are going to help next year's team be, really good again. Whether they're good enough, we'll find out. And obviously, a lot of that's going to have to do with quarterback. But Ohio State fans are going to be happy with what I think generally happy with what they're going to get back after this game's over with and people start making their official announcements.
So I mean, this is a big game. I think Missouri was really coming on towards the end of the season. They were in it with Georgia the whole game. Missouri's guys all playing. Like, what's the word on Missouri? I mean, is this going to be? I mean, I remember seeing them play Arkansas. What was that, like Black Friday? And I was telling my cousins and my dad's like, Missouri's a scary team, man. I'm not sure I'd want to play Missouri if we're not in the playoff and we don't have a full roster coming back to play them. But with our defense pretty much all lacing up to play, I think Devin Brown is good enough at quarterback. Honestly, I think from what he's another guy that we saw a lot less of because he was hurt towards the end of the end of the season with that high ankle sprain. How do you guys see this game playing out? Dylan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't think Missouri has any obvious opt-outs, impact guys. Missouri's treating this game like, like you would expect Missouri to treat a New Year's Six game. They are psyched to be there. This is a big deal for them. This isn't old hat to them like it is at Ohio State. This isn't an expectation at Missouri like it is at Ohio State, or a disappointment even like as it is at Ohio State. They are excited and they're fired up and they're gonna go. And it's Ohio State. Like, they want to go beat Ohio State. They're Missouri. Look, you can say what you want to about the teams this year, but as programs, I think to a man, and even Missouri fans would say, like, Missouri's not Ohio State. So the Ohio State is a big dog. It's on the top shelf of college football. So they're excited. And they're gonna be fired up to play that game. I don't think that Ohio State won't be excited. I think that's a question we get a lot these games, these consolation games, is are they going to want to be there? Are they going to play hard? Did they prepare well for this game? And I think Ohio State is. From everything I've heard, and I truly believe it, I think Ohio State's playing this game, with a chip on their shoulder. I think they want to end the season on a strong note and use that springboard into 2024. So I think you'll get a fired up Ohio State team in this game. Whether that's good enough, I don't know. Devin Brown's a wild card to me. I can't even begin to tell you what I think is going to happen, because I just don't know. I would be surprised. I don't think there's a single result in terms of Devin Brown that could happen in this game that would surprise me, where I'd be like, wow, I didn't see that coming. So you could truly get anything, and I'd be like, yeah, it makes sense. And whatever that is will obviously have a big part in if Ohio State can win the game or not. And it's going to hurt if Kyle McCord was playing this game. If Kyle McCord was playing this game and you knew what you're getting, you just started 12 games, so he's not going to be rattled, or the memo's not going to be too big for him. But Marvin Harrison wasn't playing this game. That's not a very good offense, right? From what we saw offensively, that wouldn't be a very good offense. So you throw Devin Brown out there making his first start ever, and you're going to probably, you're going to take Marvin Harrison off the field. And, what's Devin Brown really had to work with? And how's that offense going to look with that offensive line? And, look, it potentially Ohio State could look kind of brutal on offense next Friday. Prepare for that reality. I'm not saying it will happen, but it's better than possible that they could look fairly bad on offense, because Missouri has a quality defense as well. So that could be very, very bad. I think defensively, Ohio State will hang in there against a good offense. And Missouri is very good offensively. Let's be clear
They
about it.
are.
They have good quarterback play. They have the second leading rusher in the SEC, which obviously says a ton, and those receivers are as advertised. They're going to be formidable in offense, but I think Ohio State's defense and the guys that are playing will keep them in the game. But that offense, I'm preparing myself for that just to look just downright ugly. And again, if it's not, and Devin Brown plays well, great for Ohio State, and that bodes well for the future. But even if he doesn't play well and it does look ugly, that doesn't mean that Devin Brown's not the guy, that he can't end up being the guy next year. It's just, this is a bad situation for Ohio State offensively, because losing your top playmaker and the best playmaker in the country, maybe the best playmaker Ohio State's ever had on offense, is going to affect an offense. And then you throw in making a quarterback making his first start in a bad offensive line, and that's a recipe for disaster. So
Average. You don't want to call them bad. Remember,
excuse me.
average.
Yes. Sorry, average. Yes.
Average is the new bad, right? So if you're average, you're bad.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
this is yeah. Here's the thing about it, and I said it earlier. Hey, folks, this is a top 10 SEC opponent who's 10-2 overall, and they finished 6-2 in the SEC. And a lot of people, I even had a buddy of mine, he texted me and said, I do not want to see Ohio State play Missouri. I actually said, yeah, me too. Because initially, you're just thinking Missouri. And like you said, Dylan, Missouri is it's not a sexy name. They're not a blue blood program like Ohio State, like in Alabama, USC, Texas, the team up north. You hear Missouri.
Yeah.
What's that?
I was
Notre
Notre
Dame.
Dame, Michigan. Yeah, both those
Right. Yeah.
programs. Yeah.
You hear Missouri and you're just kind of like, but once again, 10-2 overall, ninth in the country, 6-2 in the SEC. I remember a team last year that if Ohio State were to have played them in the bowl game, being a top 10 SEC team who finished 10-2 as well as 6-2 in the conference, we would have been going absolutely berserk and fired up to play them. Who was that team? Alabama. But you switch the logo on the helmet and the colors of the team, and all of a sudden it's like, Missouri, this sucks. But if we had played Alabama last year, who also went 10-2 and 6-2 in the SEC and did not make the college football playoff, Ohio State fans would have been absolutely ecstatic. So, yeah, do not sleep on this Missouri team. And I am completely with you, Dillon. I'm with you and then some. I think Ohio State's offense is going to look ugly. You don't have your starting quarterback. You don't have your all-star wide receiver.
Has Marvin
Look,
officially said he's not coming back?
No, but
Yeah,
not
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure, but come on, man.
I'll kiss my own ass
I'll kiss your
if
ass,
he
Dillon.
comes back.
Yeah, I'll pucker up and kiss. I'll kiss
Oh
both
man,
of your asses live on this friggin' show next week when we do a recap if Marvin Harrison comes
I'm not
back.
trying to promote that kind of.
I will promote it right now. If Marvin Harrison comes back, I mean the world is friggin' falling apart. And don't give me this 20
Well,
25
just for
million
this game.
dollars. I hear social media tells me that he's coming back for 25 million. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Ridiculous rumors, and absolutely infuriates me, if you can't tell, when I hear that kind of crap on social media, because nobody knows. And I can tell you this much, yes, he wants to win a pair of gold pants, and money's not an issue because his daddy is rich and he can still get paid, 5 million, whatever $1 million next year to play. Stop it. His dream is to go to the NFL. That's ultimately his goal. When he started playing football, when he was little, watching his daddy play in the NFL, that's where he wants to be. That's where he's going to go. He will not play in this bowl game. Having said that, and okay, let me kind of get my breath out there, take a stretch. You're going to be without your starting quarterback. You're going to be without your starting wide receiver. 50-50, I'd say more than a 50-50 shot that you're going to be without your running back. I don't think Trey's coming back. Personal opinion. I know, and I want to remain cautiously optimistic too that he is, but I just feel like he's not. But at any rate, yeah, and Julian Fleming's gone. Okay, yeah, Julian Fleming. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be a huge miss as far as, but you were a starter, and you were an upperclassman. Provide that depth, provide that seniority, that leadership, or whatever you want to call it. So you're going to be down at least two wide receivers. You do have a Mecca coming back, which is good, but now you're going to have guys that, like a Carnell Tate who played a little bit. Maybe we see Brandon Ennis. Kate, excuse me. You're probably going to be without your tight end, right? Cade Stover. He didn't come out for the interviews, right, Dillon? He was not there for the interview sessions, as far as I know,
No,
right?
no, no.
Yeah, he wasn't there. And
Yeah,
if he was going to play, I would assume that Jerry would have brought him out to talk to the media, and he didn't come out. Not that Cade, he hates talking in front of the media anyways, but he didn't come out. So I don't see, you're just going to be without a lot of offensive firepower. So if Ohio State is going to win the game, they're going to have to do it on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to have to create some turnovers or make some stops and give the offense a shorter field. I think Ohio State's going to take another L. They're going to take another bowl game L. That's just where my feelings are at. I think it's going to be a fairly competitive game, but I just see Missouri winning this just because, like you said, Dillon, we haven't heard that they're going to be missing out on really any guys. Once again, we talked to Elijah Drinkwitz right after they announced the bowl games on what was that, December 3rd. And he said, yeah, man, we're going to play. Now, that was a month ago, essentially. I mean, technically, it was 3 weeks ago that he made that statement. So a lot can change, but I haven't heard much in the way of their guys opting out, and they're fired up. They are fired up to play and beat Ohio State. And unfortunately, I think that's going to happen.
Real quick on the Cade Stover thing, and just in fairness, we got the guys that had made decisions, and there's a chance it's possible that the guys hadn't made decisions yet, just weren't, hadn't made a decision like in the same time frame that Emeka and Denzel and those guys did. So for whatever that's worth, it's just throwing that out there that it's possible. I think Ohio State. If I were a betting man, I'm probably betting on Missouri. But I want to know, not that I am a betting man, but somehow I know this, that the line this morning is now Ohio State's now a 1.5 favorite, and they've been underdogs this entire time. So what does Vegas know? Because Ohio State's been an underdog this entire time, and now they're actually a 1.5 favorite. So, to do the old Brian Windhorst thing, like, why is that? What's going on there? Something's happening. Something's happened that Vegas knows. And I have always said, like, hey, for all the money, listen to Vegas. If you want to know, nobody has more at stake in these games than Vegas, well, besides the programs, the teams themselves, than Vegas, right? That's their money, man. That's their money. So something's happened. Something has happened to move this line, because Ohio State's been an underdog this entire time. I wake up this morning and they're now a 1.5 favorite. Why? So it's not for nothing. I can promise you that. So I find that interesting. Thinking about all the possibilities of what it could mean and why they're now a favorite this morning, still doesn't matter to me. I think Ohio State loses a football game. I think that Missouri is every bit as good as Ohio State. I think that while Ohio State will be focused and driven, I think it just won't mean as much as it does Missouri, because how could it? I mean, that's just human nature. The human nature part of it is that it is a consolation game, and it's not a consolation in any way, shape, or form for Missouri. This was a destination. Like, this is a goal achieved for Missouri. That will be reflected on the field. I think it'll be a good football game. But I would if I were betting, I'd bet on Missouri to win that game. I don't want to say big. It won't be. Ohio State will stay in the football game. Their defense will keep them in the football game. But I think Missouri wins by a single score. That's how I would call it. So
I'm going against you too. I think OSU wins. I think we're happy with what we see with Devin Brown. I think we're all pleasantly surprised, and maybe we actually see a quarterback that throws some bombs, because that was something Kyle McCord never did. We got talented wide receivers. Throw some deep bombs. We didn't do it all fucking season, man. It drove me nuts. I was like, how come we came out there with Cardale Jones, and we immediately were just good? It was like, I was watching the old highlights, and it was like, he just threw deep bombs. That was all he was doing. Our guys could get down there, and we had a good running attack. So if we throw bombs, we have a good running attack. I think we'll be in good shape. Now, if we play like, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like we're going to win well, but I could definitely see it going very badly for Ohio State. Missouri's a very good team. I am excited for this bowl season. I don't know if you guys saw. It's a lot of Big Ten versus SEC. And I think it's a lot for what's to come in the future, which is also kind of exciting. So, I don't know. That's really all I have. I think that this game is kind of going to be, I feel like if Devin Brown goes out there and just absolutely looks terrible and like garbage, maybe that transfer portal, I think that decision's made afterward. Maybe Cam Ward has said, I want to play for you guys. And we've said, well, we'll see how Devin Brown plays, and we'll let you know. I wouldn't be surprised if that's going on. So, but I don't know, guys. I don't know shit. We're just here speculating. We go to the sidelines and interviews. It's been a lot of fun talking to you guys this season. Looking forward to doing it again more. That's all I got. What do you guys got? Merry Christmas, by the way.
yeah, Merry Christmas to y'all as well. Certainly, first of all, I want to thank you guys for letting me on again. I appreciate always doing this with you guys.
Devin, I'd be happy if you came in, or Dylan, I'd be happy if you came on every week. That would be a blast for
I
us.
might change my name to Devin if he goes out and lights up Missouri for 300 yards. And
Devin Davis.
So I'll be Devin
I'll,
Davis.
I'll call you Devin Davis. Devin Davis here, the newly
But
named.
anyways, I'm happy to be on a regular basis. Again, I don't want to ever say that I can just commit week after week because I just don't know one week to the next. But I'm happy to be on a regular basis. So
you have been on
that's
a
the good
regular
news
basis. So yeah,
that's true.
We will keep
That's
this train.
true.
We'll keep this train running,
but more regular.
Hey, can I say one more thing? I forgot to say one thing. And I think this is very important because I cannot, and Andy's already started it. I cannot push this hype train forward enough with Jeremiah J.J. Smith, right? If Marvin Harrison doesn't play in this game, if you could have moved this timeline up, like everything up by like 2 weeks, and Jeremiah Smith had the week of preparation leading up to the Cotton Bowl, he would play on Friday. That's how good this kid is right now. He would be in the mix on Friday. You would have Emeka and Carnell Tate, and Jeremiah Smith would immediately contend for the reps behind those two guys. If he had the week, if he could be on campus in an Ohio State uniform and had the week to prepare and just kind of get used to the offense, that kid he would see the field. I'm not saying he would see the field for 20 snaps, but he would be on the field for Ohio State in this game if you could speed everything up by 2 weeks and get him on campus. So
is he an early graduate? Like, is he?
Yeah, he'll be there in January, just not in December. When he would need to be. So, but if he could get there in December, if he could have committed 3 and been there for bowl practice, I swear I think the kid would play this game, whether it's 5 snaps or 15 snaps, I don't know, but he would play in the game. So, anyways. Happy holidays to you guys. I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great Christmas. Well, I guess I can't assume you guys celebrate Christmas.
Hey, we celebrate Christmas.
Hey,
we're blue-blooded Americans.
I don't want to be canceled here, so
no one's gonna cancel you from this show. I promise.
Yeah, right.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah, right.
Let's do this again after the Cotton Bowl.
After the Cotton Bowl, I think there's going to be. I think after the Cotton Bowl is when we're going to find out transfer portal details for the Buckeyes.
There will be no shortage of topics after that game. Yeah, there will be plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
So
you guys think Marvin Harrison plays in the game?
No.
You say no, Andy. Dylan, do you think he plays?
Plays in the game?
Yeah.
Well, I really don't want to kiss my own ass, so I wouldn't have said it. I don't even know if I'm physically capable of it. But I wouldn't have said it. No, there's no. I don't want to say there's no chance. I think one thing I will say about Marvin Harrison is that anybody who immediately rolled it out right away, I think that was wrong. I think that was premature. I do think I believe, and from what I've heard, there was a legitimate decision to be made. There's a decision to be made. He was truly torn about it. But at the end of the day, what I put it 10%. There was a 10% chance that he comes back. Everybody asked me, is Marvin coming back? Could he come back? I'd say 10%. I wouldn't put it at 0. I think anybody saying that was a little bit premature. There was definitely he thought about it. There was a decision to be made, but at the end of the day, that it would just be insane. And look, in the NFL, it's not about just getting into the NFL. When you get paid in the NFL, ever since they put the rookie salary cap in for the draft picks, right? So it used to be you could pay your first round draft pick whenever you wanted to. Now it's capped, right? So now that's the second contract is when you really get paid in the NFL. He wants to start that clock. He wants to get in the NFL and start working towards that second contract where you make the generational wealth that he's going to probably make in all likelihood. So, anyways,
and that's exactly it, Dylan. I mean, give me a break here, folks. Yes, $20 to $25 million. If that is indeed the case, which I have no clue, but if those rumors are true, no, there is no NIL cap. As far as I know, as long as this is America, Jack, right? I mean, the land of capitalism, home of the free, land of the brave. I mean, get paid whatever you get paid, and as long as that NIL collective has the money to give, they're allowed to give it. But to your point, Dylan, and I think that is what people are missing out on, because they're just simply saying, well, $20 to $25 million. Wouldn't you come back for that? Don't get me wrong. I'm now giving it very, very serious thought. However, my ultimate goal is to play in the NFL. And if I come back next year, and granted, $20, $25 million could be a lot of money to live off of for a good portion of time, but That's my dream. I want to go to the NFL. If I come back and get hurt next year and ruin my chances of my dream and essentially playing for quite a few years in the NFL and create my own wealth, yeah, I'm going to be friggin' pissed off. So no offense, Ohio State, you got me to where I needed to be. I'm going to go there now. So
Yeah, I think it's like I think it's a good thing, much like the Utah game. When we played Utah with Stroud and we had all those guys, and that really set us up for the next year. So I'm hoping that's how
yeah,
this game is. I'm hoping I hope we ball out. We're all pleasantly surprised. I think there's going to be a lot to talk about with where the Big Ten's come. This next bowl season, we'll get a lot of information. There's some pretty key matchups where we'll have some pretty good information about how good the SEC is versus the Big Ten. I mean, obviously the SEC's. I mean, it's hard to not say it's not better. But this is all for next time, and then also we could talk about NIL booster. I don't know how to say it, but I mean, like, you can't keep hitting up boosters forever. I mean, there is a cap to how much insanity can actually go on, which is why when you see these basketball schools like Louisville and Kentucky now spending money in their football programs, where there is a lot more money, I think we're going to see a lot more of that too. So I don't know. It's exciting. It's different. It sucks all at the same time. So, guys, thanks. I'll keep rambling on because I love talking to you guys.
yeah,
Dylan,
you guys need to get out of here. So go. And I need to get out of here. Help my wife do some things. She's
I gotta
frazzled right now. So.
Gotta run.
yeah. All right, we'll see you, Dylan. Thanks for hosting. Everyone,
Yeah.
thanks again for tuning in.
Thank you guys. Appreciate y'all.
Yep. Much love to everybody
Right,
out there.
later.
Merry
Definitely.
Christmas to you both, and Merry Christmas to everybody else too. All right. Happy holidays.
Yes, sir.
All right, later.
Yes.
All right, see you guys.